Kate Brady, who is a journalist based in Berlin. Kate, thanks very much indeed for joining us on the programme. Look, we heard a fair bit there about Olaf Scholz's ambitions in Sibel's package, but I wanted to ask you about his settling in time, or rather lack of it, because my guess is he's straight into crisis management, not just COVID-19, but also the diplomatic crisis over Ukraine.
Absolutely, and this is certainly the pandemic, just to start with, is going to be something that is overshadowing the first months, if not, dare I say, at least the first year of this new government's time in office. And we're already seeing that they're trying to hit the ground running before the new cabinet ministers were even sworn in today already. A proposal was put to the Bundestag, to Germany's lower house of parliament this week. That's been debated right now about a vaccine mandate. That's one of the first big changes that this new government, that Scholz's cabinet wants to push through. And we could see vaccines against COVID-19 become at least mandatory for at least healthcare workers as early as March. And then it's likely that that would then be expanded to the wider population. And then, of course, you mentioned as well some of the huge diplomatic issues that are on the table right now. Already on Tuesday, when just after Scholz and his fellow coalition leaders had signed this new coalition deal, they were all probed on some foreign policy issues, and Scholz made it clear, he said, that in light of the most recent movements of Russian troops on the Ukrainian border, he said it needed to be made clear to Russia that any kind of developments, any further threats towards Ukraine were simply unacceptable. Exactly what kind of sanctions there might be, or what that means in a practical sense, he wasn't really going to expand on. But one thing is for sure, and that's that this incoming, or rather now existing, the new foreign ministry and also the chancellery certainly want to take a harsher stance, not only towards any aggression from Russia, but also they want to take a harsher stance towards China. That's something that Annalena Baerbock, the new foreign minister, has made very clear. She's not minced her words before, especially when it comes to human rights abuses in China, for example. And that's been one of the big criticisms of Germany in the past, of former German governments, is that sometimes they may have put their economic and industrial interests ahead of human rights interests, especially when it comes to dealing with China, for example.
Yeah, so certainly a test of leadership straight up for him, but I suppose he does have a pretty good CV that would suggest that he's well equipped to deal with that, although I suppose there is always the possibility that he may be hindered by the coalition. Look, I just wanted to move on and broaden it out, because it's impossible to have a discussion about Olaf Scholz without mentioning his predecessor, Angela Merkel. I mean, the legacy left behind by Angela Merkel. I wonder, will he forever be judged by the success of his previous leader, a little bit like the man who had to take over after Sir Alex Ferguson when he left Manchester United? Impossible job.
Of course, huge shoes to fill, but as has been said here, reported in the media as well, we have to remember that once upon a time, Angela Merkel was filling someone's shoes. Back then, as Gerhard Schröder, very different story, but still there were a lot of comparisons drawn as to whether she'd have the longevity as the previous conservative Chancellor. Of course, Helmut Kohl, she was seen as, she was a young politician, as being a protege of Helmut Kohl, who was Gerhard Schröder's predecessor, and she almost became the longest serving German Chancellor. Now she's just second behind Helmut Kohl. So, of course, she does leave a legacy behind, and I think that will really, exactly what that is, will become clear actually in years to come, and will certainly be something that political observers and historians will be talking about for a long, long time. But, of course, she has led Germany through a time of huge change, of some huge crises as well. And that's one of the things that, despite criticism sometimes of her policy decisions, the way in which she has managed crises has certainly been lauded, not only here in Germany, but further afield as well, particularly in Europe. But again, she's not always made the best of friends, especially in times of crises. When you think back to the financial crisis and the Greek debt crisis, certainly some of the decisions that were made when it came to austerity measures did not sit well, and still don't sit well with much of the Greek population, for example. Italy was also very much left disappointed when it came to the so-called migration crisis. But still, she steered Germany through, and has certainly at least aimed to to put Germany at the centre of trying to increase European stability over her 16 years in office. So certainly some big shoes to fill. But when we talk about the word stability, that at least is one of the things that has really led to Olaf Scholz's success, at least so far, his success in at least becoming appointed as the German Chancellor. He's seen really as a bit of a continuity candidate. At least that's what he was being spun as during the election campaign. And he's a familiar face. He also served in Angela Merkel's cabinet twice, most recently as finance minister. And certainly his decision to release and open up those purse strings to release some record amounts of financial aid during the pandemic has certainly helped with his popularity. But now, whether or not that popularity will stay, especially in the coming weeks and months with dealing with the pandemic and the likelihood of a vaccine mandate coming in, that is a very different question. There's actually huge support. Yeah.
I'm sorry to cut you off, Kate. I didn't mean to, but what I wanted to say was enjoy the new political era. We really appreciate you joining us. Thanks very much indeed for your comments and your thoughts.